So, please tell us who you are and what you do at Suncorp.
So my name is Murray Howe, and I'm the Executive Manager for Digital Strategy and Innovation here at Suncorp. So that means that I have two roles. On the digital strategy side, I'm responsible for working with my digital community to craft the strategy for our group, as well as the delivering the capability program to help them do their jobs.
Okay. When did the importance of data first appear on your radar screen?
I think that has always been important for marketers. That's nothing new. As a digital marketer, it's the importance of data really only hit my radar last year when I realised that in trying to deliver strategic outcomes that I wanted in the digital space, all those strategic outcomes were incumbent upon us achieving strategic outcomes in the data space. So data is now very important to me.
Okay. What's the company's approach been to media attribution? Have you done any work in that area?
Yeah. So media attribution itself is the holy grail of marketers, and technology has been a big limiter in marketers' ability to effectively do media attribution. So for us, we haven't had an econometrics program in place per se, but we have done ad hoc media attribution programs with our media agencies in the past.
Okay. And has it had any impact on decision making, or have you gleaned any information that's helped you, plan or develop more efficient campaigns?
In respect to the digital channel, in the past, I would have to say that the ad hoc approach to media attribution hasn't really been all that operationally insightful, in that it hasn't necessarily changed marketing behaviour. However, more recent deployments of media attribution in our business have had an impact into the behaviour of marketers and how we deploy creative and invest online.
Okay, and why was that?
Well, so for example, how should we view and treat display? And the hypotheses that marketers have applied to display has changed over the last number of years, and has been driven by the rise of data available, whether it be dwell time on display or click-through on display. So low clicks on display meant that we were sold that display was a branding tool. Dwell time sort of reinforced that a bit, that it was a branding tool. However, applying media attribution methodology to that actually changes that and debunks that view a bit. So we now see and treat display media more as a retail tool than a branding tool. So creative is more call to action oriented than it would have been before.
Okay. And have you done any work around media attribution and offline channels driving action?
From online to offline and tracking that. From a media perspective, no. Well, not really. The big challenge has still been to solve the online media attribution value chain. I think once we get comfortable with that, then we'll turn our attention to the next piece, which is online to offline. Okay. That's not to say that we don't have examples of where we try to track activity from online to offline. We have plenty of those, but plugging that into an attribution model, we haven't done that yet.
Okay, all right. So you want to get the online path to purchase kind of bedded down first.
Yeah, it's a capability journey.
Yeah. So at Suncorp, who's responsible for managing data and analytics within the organization?
So there are three areas where data and where we have responsibility for data and the subsequent analytics of that. In our IT environment, we have business information, and there are teams that are responsible for that environment. We've centralized some of our core customer analytics capability in the group, and in some of our lines of business and the marketing teams, they have campaign analytics or like the more traditional marketing, direct marketing analytics capability in those teams as well.
Okay. And how would you characterize the relationship between IT and the marketing department?
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, for us, you know, I don't know what it's like for other businesses. Oh, that's not true. I think I can imagine what it's like for other businesses. The relationship between marketing and IT has been one of a journey. It wasn't that many years ago where there wasn't a relationship between marketing and IT. We're at the point where we have a more intimately aligned relationship so it's moved from project delivery to ongoing operational delivery. So it's more intimate than it has been ever before.
Okay. All right. And that'll be an evolving, ongoing process, I would imagine.
Yeah. I personally, I spend more time with my technology partners than I do anybody else, and so do people in the digital community around me. They view their technology partners as very important to their business.
Okay. All right. And you're sort of the conduit between the
To a
brand
degree, yeah.
marketers and the IT guys.
You can say that, yeah.
Okay. So what market segments do you think, what industries have the most to gain from database marketing strategies?
It's a difficult question to answer because it's an evolving, the big data or the dynamic data environment is an evolving one, but I would say any company that relies on data for their customer interactions, that's going to be retail, it's going to be financial services, professional services, over the likes of mining or manufacturing, or wholesale type services. But even some of those companies, whether it be transport or whatever, are looking at data in different ways, and even the data itself isn't new. The technology available to them is allowing them to look at it differently and changing the way they do it.
Okay. How effectively do you think the organization has been able to leverage data up to this point?
Data, so the answer to that question is really driven by how complex your technology environment is, and there's also a function of how complex your organizational environment is. So how many legacy systems you have, how many divisions, how many businesses you run. Yeah. And so for a company like us, like most banks, that's a pretty ugly scenario. So legacy has been an issue. I think for us, we've been able to move and prioritize that to the point where we've been able to move through that very quickly. So where data environment has been a challenge up till maybe only a year or so ago, we are moving through simplifying that environment very quickly.
And are there specific tools or approaches that you've been able to use, systems and platforms?
Yeah, I think there are a number of different tools and solutions. So I think what's probably more important is to recognise that in our environment we're going to rely on an ever increasingly diverse range of sources of data and data sources, both internal into our organizational environment and external to that. So location-based devices, peer reviews, social type media content will be external to our environment. So any platforms and tool sets that are able to handle that and handle that in a way that can reduce the latency between when we collect that data and action it. And ideally, we want to be able to action. We want to be able to action that data within or as close to the customer interaction as possible, and that's the goal that we set for ourselves now.
Okay. And how close would you say you are to achieving that goal?
Not that far.
Oh, good. And how are you working with your media and marketing agencies and to make the most of this opportunity?
In respect to data and how we use data, so look, we've always worked. I mean, we've always relied on, say, media agencies for media-related data analytics. However, the amount of data and the importance of data, not only in the media space, but if you're applying attribution, then that actually has implications in our operational and service environments as well. So what that means is if we're going to use those partners, it means that as a client, we have a responsibility to govern the data, and to govern the data environment and methodology that we apply to that. So my view on that is it's my responsibility to define the data environment and the rules and the methodology around that and the currency of data. And it also is my responsibility to open that up to my partners so that they can do the value and sort of analytics and insight to that for us.
What advice might you give other marketers who are trying to engage with their IT stakeholders?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is it's a journey, and it's a journey of bringing two different mindsets together. The technology mindset is driven around project delivery, and it's around tool set maintenance and support. It's not traditionally driven by campaign response. So the frequency of interaction and the expectation of frequency of interaction is vastly different. So marketers need to understand that our technology environments can't move as fast as they would like. There are security protocols and things like that which they need to adhere to. So too, though, that if technology partners are going to respond sufficiently to deliver on what increasingly marketers are going to require, which is digitally driven or technology driven marketing outcomes, then they've got a few issues themselves. One is bandwidth. Two is operational procedures. So what I mean by that is they need to be nimbler and respond faster. And second is skill set. They need more commercially aware skill sets as they do technology deep skill sets to be able to respond to the need of market. The bottom line is, especially for a digital marketer, at least in my experience, there's very little that a digital marketer can do today without support of somebody in IT.
And how are you finding trying to work that communication kind of the other way, getting the marketing minds in the company to have sympathy for or work along with the needs of the technology department? How open are they to doing that?
Look, I think like most things, it starts at the top. So what you need is your CMO to recognise that he's the most important or her most important ally and partner in the business is going to be the CTO. And in our environment, we have that. So that flows from there.
Okay. Is data on the radar screen of executive management? And if it is, how are they responding to it?
It definitely is on the radar screen. It's on the radar screen because we've agitated to put it there. But the way I would answer it is this, and it's not just related to data, it's related to any technology-enabled capability, is that as a marketer, what we've experienced is when it comes to website investment or data investment, it's either been feast or famine. There's been lots of attention, lots of money for the implementation of something, and then no money, no attention for the learned capability that's required to use the thing that's been deployed. So the concept of continual improvement, continual investment is a learned capability at these C-level suite. They need to understand that, and that takes longer to embed than the need to implement a new tool.
And that's in progress.
Yeah, so we have very much moved from that feast or famine approach to a continual delivery and improvement approach. But that itself is a journey that we're working on as well.
And where is that led from or driven from? Is that CMO and CTO? level amongst their peers?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's really driven from the budget owner level. So it's not just the CMO, CTO. You know, it is that general manager level. So it could be, you know, portfolio managers or distribution managers, whoever's responsible or whoever has responsibility for the tools that marketers and IT people rely on, say around data, then it's for them to budget for bandwidth, for training, for platform upgrades and expansions to cope with the demand as it evolves and people using those tools. And we see that, especially in the data environment, as being an exponential curve.